Hello, I'm Joel Blackford with Beth Hassid Sabbath Fellowship. We're virtual only. Sorry, we're based out of St. Paul, Minnesota, but the phone number works if you'd like to contact us. We do the philosophy of eschatology, what you need to know, your reality, our existence as we head into the end of days. And what I try to do is solve a little bit of revelation every week. And what we're trying to work on this week is the fires. Everywhere there's fires, fires. I mean, every news report that I see, every other one, is about a fire someplace. And problems associated with the fires. Are these part of conspiracies? Are they part of God's judgment? I'm going to be citing indirectly God's Themis and Orge, which are from Revelation 16, really. I mean, that's when everything kicks in by that point in time. And really, the commentary from Peter, 2 Peter 3, on, everything has been preserved and it's being kept for the day of fire, and the time of the end. There's stupidity involved in this in terms of, I'll call it the mouse utopia. Okay, and I'll describe that later on. So we're going to go through the fires, we're going to go through the conspiracies, we're going to go through the prophecies today, and let's start digging into it. The fires everywhere. Many fires. It's drier. It's a little bit windier than normal across the world, and so that will cause more fires. And we're heading into hurricane season too. And part of the problem with Hawaii was the hurricane nature that was near enough to it to cause the fires to whip around. But the wildfires are on the rise. This is from Al Jazeera, and they mapped the wildfires, and you can see more Middle East based, and Turkey and Italy and Northern Africa, and then on the right hand side from Climate Signals, just so many fires across the world. And these are all August things. This is from NOAA. Research shows that changes in climate create warmer, drier conditions. Yes, that is true. And longer, more active fire seasons, increases in temperatures and the thirst of the atmosphere due to human-caused climate change. We'll see about that. There is human stupidity. Oh, yeah. But there's also there are days of rich and plenty, and there are days of poverty. And so there are just phases. Okay, just get used to it. So this cites an article from Geoengineering, which is Dane Wigington. We'll be citing him a little bit today. He's going to argue in all cases geoengineering, and I'm not sure exactly what it is, but we'll discuss it. He's citing Greece, Spain, Portugal, Turkey, Italy, France, UK, Canary Islands, Kazakhstan, Canada, obviously. Oh my goodness, Canada's bad. And the U.S. has fires too, but Canada, I live in Minnesota. I've been noticing the Canadian fires all summer. You just look at the sun at night, and the sun looks orange, from fire, sometimes red. So, yes, it has been a tough summer. It will be a tough fall. It will be a tough next year, too. So what are we doing here? We're talking about the philosophy of the end of days. We're going to get to 2 Peter 3 by the end of this slide series. But what I want you to realize is that we're looking at the Bible. We're critiquing Revelation based on Peter's critique. And we're looking at prophecy, but some of these are more earthly prophecies that aren't really religious people, and then news or fake news and things like that. So that's what we do. So once again, Lahaina, Maui, the fires, the investigations. So they're offering these poor people $700 cash, but they've given $75 billion to Ukraine. And as you can tell over these months with me, I'm anti-war, and I'm a hawk actually of my whole life. There have been times to go to war. Hitler had to be stopped. Kaiser Wilhelm in World War I had to be stopped. And so these wars were necessary, but Vietnam really wasn't necessary. It was an oil war. It was really to divide up Vietnam into oil sectors for the globalists. And so in this case, yeah, they first said, oh, well, it looks like it killed 6 people. No, we could be up into the thousands here. I'll give you a news report from Great Game India in just a moment to show that. So they're underreporting. And this is Daily Mail. And usually Daily Mail, they're a British company. They will report on America in a more honest and straightforward way. Maui Fire, once again, Daily Mail. I cite them a lot. So, top emergency officials were on a different island for a disaster training as flames flared and did not join response call until 5 hours after the deadly fires begun. Oh, so there's human error. And I'm going to blame that on mouse utopia, which is that they bully and preen. Okay, so you'll notice that as I go through this. Okay, so once again, 75 billion for Ukraine for war, and nothing really for people that need help in America. So we're and the worst possible person was Mike Pence, who said, "That's not my concern. That's not my concern." So anyway, it's a craziness. It's mouse utopia, bully and preen. Okay, and we'll discuss mouse utopia. I'll show you the slide at the end here. Okay, so this is a nightmare. The police blocked the exits, and people would just drive around in circles until they burned and died. Okay, so is that an alien conspiracy or is that mouse utopia? It's mouse utopia. It's stupid people doing stupid things and killing other people. Maui is under attack by a direct energy weapon. I don't know that. I doubt that. I think it's more of the fire started and the hurricane winds blew them around. But the horrible thing is, this is from Great Game India, down on the bottom here, 2,000 children missing from Lahaina public schools 2 weeks after Maui fire. 2,025 to be exact, missing from school. So where are these kids? And then on the right-hand side here, the Russian fires. So is this a direct energy weapon or is this just fires? There are many criteria. I'm telling you that based on the Bible, that God is involved in this, people. So don't write God out and don't write stupid people out too. Okay. So once again, the fires and everything like that. And why did some things burn and not other things? I would say the driving winds. They were gusty, and so they would blow here, blow there, and so you'll have some things that are saved and some things burned. So that's just winds. Okay. Continuing on to Canada now. So we have the Canadian fires, and they've been going all summer and just blowing into America. And the pictures of New York from a few months ago are amazing. So Canada, terrifying Canadian wildfire that jumped lake grows 100-fold in 24 hours at 43-mile-per-hour winds, fan flames with significant number of homes destroyed and thousands forced to evacuate. So that's basically British Columbia. But you could argue most of Canada has had fires. And this is again Daily Mail. And then this is the Watchers from August 19th. Canadian wildfires prompt evacuation of 20,000 as flames approach Yellowknife. So Canada has been bad. Is this a conspiracy? Is everything a conspiracy? Is everything a hammer and everything a nail? No. This is stupidity too. You have to factor in stupidity. And I'm arguing God. So Canada, the fires are they planned? Are they started? So this is something called NA. Canada's out of control fires are planned, experts warn. And so they're claiming that they want to force you into 15-minute cities. Now, there are 15-minute cities, and that has been discussed for Lahaina and Maui, but not everything is that. That is stupidity, but there are other reasons why fires start, and they could be from God and stupidity. Okay, so never ever factor out human stupidity. So yes, the fires are off the Richter scale. This is from Copernicus, and I'm going to argue human stupidity more, but this has been a record-breaking cycle. So the standard line is the dark gray line on the middle right, and then this is what the year is like in red. And wow, thank you, Copernicus, for that incredible graph. Wow. So it's been record breaking. 290 megatons have been burned up, over 25% of the global total for 2023 to date. Wow. Wow, 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 wow. That's just Canada alone. So it's shocking. Canada's huge. So we don't factor that into it, but it is frustrating to see all of this occur. So let's continue on and let's look at Oregon. And this is very recent. This is August 26th. Oregon wildfires updates, numerous new fires spark evacuations. They're arguing that this is lightning strikes. And you have to look. So 1,633 lightning strikes caused new fires. See, so you have to factor that into it. Now, is that God with the lightning strikes, or is that just lightning strikes? I don't know. But I am arguing that that seems to be the bulk of this. This is just life. When things are drier and when the conditions are ripe and the lightning strikes occur, you're going to have fires. Get used to it. So this is another area. This is Louisiana, 44441 wildfires, record heat and drought. And normally they're battling hurricanes and tropical storms and flooding right now, but they're plagued by record-breaking heat and extreme drought. And then the fires start. So Louisiana, and this is up by just northwest of Lafayette and kind of close to Jasper, which I believe is on the Texas side. So anyway, the point is that's the Tiger Island fire, and it's nasty. It's horrible, no doubt about it. More fires. This is coming from, oh goodness, this is Russia. The Watchers is reporting on it, and there are Spanish fires too, and there's Bangkok fires in Thailand. And so is this God, or is this stupidity, or is this just nature doing what nature has been doing for thousands of years? I argue it's nature. This is Greece, horrible fires. Now, these were started by somebody. So 79 people were arrested over the fires. So we don't have a climate crisis, we have an arsonist crisis. Yes, and that is part of it too. So as I mentioned, we're going to be discussing the prophecy, and it's not described as a prophecy, I think it is, of mouse utopia. And we'll get to that towards the end. So French fries, yes, in the Pyrenees and the Orientales. That's 3,000 tourists evacuated on their British holiday from these beautiful hotspots, and catastrophic wildfires ravage homes and campsites near the French seaside resort. Okay, then here's the Greek Isles from DNYUZ News. The Greek fires are horrific. And once again, that was more French on the left-hand side, Greek down in the lower middle. And then on the right-hand side, it looks like, oh, that's more of the same from France. And so lots of fires across the world. So now we'll get into what I think is occurring. And this is my opinion based on how I read the Bible. And these are verses that you probably have never seen from Jeremiah 21, but they're rather intriguing. So I want you to be able to at least ponder this as I read these verses to you. And here is what you are to tell this people. Jeremiah should tell the people. Adonai says, look, I am presenting you with the way of life, choices like God always does, the way of life and the way of death. Anyone who stays in the city will die by sword, famine, and plague. That's the big three from Revelation 6:8, the fourth seal, the fourth horseman, and sword. You know, I didn't look it up to see if this is Ramphea, but it may be. And famine is limo, and plague would be devar in the Hebrew, and it would be in the Greek, it would be thanatos, death in most cases, and it could be a quick death. So it's very similar that he's citing something similar to Revelation 6:8, the fourth seal from Jeremiah, but then he continues on. But he who leaves and surrenders to the Kastim, it doesn't even say Babylon, it says the Kastim, which are more like sorcerers, besieging you, will stay alive. His own life will be his only spoils of war. So he'll be in a war, and the only spoil will be you get to live. And I have determined absolutely that the city will have evil, not good, says Adonai. It's going to be handed over to the king of Babylon, and he will burn it to the ground. To the royal house of Yehuda, say, hear the word of Adonai, house of David. This is what Adonai says, Jeremiah 21:8-11, and continuing on through 21. Judge fairly every morning. Rescue the wrongs from their oppressors, or my fury will lash out like fire, burning so hot that no one can quench it, because of how evil your actions are, Adonai says. I am against you, Jerusalem, situated in a valley like a rock on a plain. You who say, who can come down against us? Who can enter our lairs? I will punish you, says Adonai. As your deeds deserve, I will set its forest on fire, and I will devour everything around it. So that's the end of Jeremiah that I'm citing, the fire-type verses. Very rare in the Bible, and they don't match up with hardly anything else. But they match up with judgment. So Jerusalem was under judgment. Babylon was supposed to come in and do something to them, and God sent the fires. Okay, so is America Israel? So if this judgment came against Israel, is America Babylon or Israel or any of those things? Is there a direct correlation between the verses and us? There's a direct correlation in terms of judgment occurs when you are Babylon-like. Okay, or down, not downcast, but when Israel sins greatly, God has to judge them, and he did it many, many times. In America, we were set up by George Washington and the founders to be a glory for God and for the glory of God. And so this is from Washington's letter, and I show on the left-hand side Netanyahu with Biden, and that's a tense relationship. But the relationship between America and Israel. The man must be bad indeed who can look upon events of the American Revolution without feeling the warmest gratitude towards the great author, that's God, of the universe, whose divine interposition was so frequently manifested on our behalf, in our behalf. So that's Washington from 1789. He knew that God led us through this. So if God helped found the country and has helped bless the country, when we fall away from God, do we deserve the fires? Yes. And so I would argue they come from God. Now, here's the other side. This is a prophetic comment from Dane Wigington. And so he's saying it's all geoengineering and every possibility is geoengineered. It's not. Okay, there isn't a conspiracy behind every rock. It isn't always an alien. Okay, and so Dane is wrong, but he makes money off this, and so he spews this forth. There are times when it is geoengineered, but you have to look at the vastness of, say, the Pacific Ocean or the vastness of walking across Asia and realize that you might be able to geoengineer a minor portion of the Earth. And LBJ talked about it back in 1965. So we do have direct references that the US government is doing it, but that would be in a certain little sector. It would not be worldwide, people. They would not be able to pull off this much. And so you can see all the pictures and things like that of what seems to be light beams coming down from the sky and lasers and other things like that. And lasers are the Navy is using lasers now on their destroyers and battleships. So, but here's the problem. It seems as though that it's more stupid humans, and I'll give you that prophecy on the Mouse Utopian in a moment here, but I totally disagree with Dane. It according to Ben Davidson, and I trust him a whole lot more because he researches it better, it might be 2 to 5%. It might be, okay, but it's not 99% of whatever seems to be odd, okay? Not everything is a nail, not everything is a hammer. So this is a prophet, Bart Ehrman, prophet of psychological damage. And so he's saying that people like me are selling something called Armageddon. What the Bible really says about the end, he writes that a literal reading of Revelation has created disastrous problems, including personal and psychological damage. Well, I'm telling you that the people were already damaged before they ever figured out that we're in the times of Revelation, that we're in the birth pangs, so to speak. So Revelation reads like a horror film. Yes, it does. It's fantastical, monstrous beasts and giants and surreal insects, as well as plagues, wars, a lake of fire and torture. Many scholars think it shouldn't have been included in the Bible. So who knows who Bart is and what his problem is? But this is prophetic. He's prophesying that these events will cause psychological damage. Yeah, but people are already falling away from God and his book. And so they deserve this because that's the only way you can get people to repent and come back to God. So, and they come in waves, people. Look, check out Leviticus 26 and Deuteronomy 28. That's what we're reading next week, Deuteronomy 28. They come in waves. Okay, so Sunday, worshipers. This is my personal opinion based on me publishing out a little bit about those Jeremiah 21 verses. The Sunday worshipers, what do you mean? God judges? No, that's not how it works. We get grace. And the Sabbath keepers that I hang around with in most cases, yeah, God does judge. He does all the time. Get used to it. Now, it isn't a cause and effect where, you stub your toe because you cursed God, yesterday morning. No, sometimes he waits 20 years, but there is a judgment at the end after you're dead, and you're at the white throne judgment of Revelation 20. So the main thing is there are these crazy people like Harold Camping saying Judgment Day is coming from May 21st, 2011, and the appeal of Armageddon. And so it's hard to answer, but psychologists and religious scholars say it derives from the number of very human urges, from the fear of death to the fear of justice to the fatalistic despair that the world is too broken to ever be fixed. I argue that it is too broken. We're not going through a fourth turning, which is Strauss and Howe, their famous book, that we would then go from the fourth cycle into the first cycle. I don't see that happening, people. I see a population collapse. I see an economic collapse. I see all sorts of problems that are unrepairable because of the Mouse Utopia. And so I'm going to be arguing that prophecy in just a moment here. So 30 to 40% of Americans report believing that the end times are coming eventually, while most reject the Christian teachings of Harold Camping, they still realize we're going to go into the end times. So that's still 30 to 40% of the people out there. So keep that in mind. This is a prophecy that people understand the end times are coming. Now, here we are to the most important prophecy out there for me in terms of what's happening in the world. It's not geoengineering, or if it is, it's just a little tiny piece of the pie of the problems going on in the world. And it is God. There's no doubt about that. He is trying to correct us, but it's also our leaders. They bully and they preen because that's what mice do in this utopia sequence. So I'll just read this to you on the right hand side. At peak population, most mice spent every living second in the company of hundreds of other mice. They gathered at the main squares, which is French Revolution, and Dr. Drew Pinsky mentioned that you're going to have that pre-revolutionary France issue, the main squares, then that's social. That would be Twitter, that would be Facebook, things like that. They'll gather at the main squares, waiting to be fed and occasionally attacking each other. You're noticing that. Few females carried pregnancies to term, and the ones that did seemed to simply forget about their babies. They'd move half their litter away from danger and forget the rest. Sometimes they'd drop and abandon the baby while they were carrying it. The few secluded spaces housed a population Calhoun called the beautiful ones. Do you see that right now? Do you see the Kardashians? Oh, I'm blanking on the name of the lady that sings that auto tune. I don't even remember her name now. She's very tall and very thin, and she needs auto tune, and she writes her own music. Country western type singer. Anyway, so the beautiful ones, you know who they are, the actors, and generally guarded by one male, the females, and a few males inside the space don't breed or fight or do anything but eat and groom and sleep. So they bully and then they groom and they preen, And when the population started declining, the beautiful ones were spared from violence and death, but had completely lost touch with social behaviors, including having sex or caring for their young. The Taylor Swift, that's it. So the people like Taylor Swift that bully you and then preen. She bullies by writing songs about her former lovers, and then she preens about it. And this is where we're going. This is society, and this is rat utopia. As you see the ebb and flow of society, you're going to notice this, and so just be aware. This is where we're going. Our leaders, watch them closely. Bully and preen. They will do that. And that's from the 1960s. Sorry about that noise of the vehicle outside. So the end days, he will be like a refiner's fire. So we're into the verses to end this out. Look, I am sending my messenger to clear the way before me, and the Lord whom you seek will suddenly come to his temple, the Haykal. It doesn't say temple, it says Haykal, and that could be just a tent. Yes, the messenger of the covenant, in whom you take such delight. Look, here he comes, says Adonai Tezvaot. He's the master of legions. But who can endure the day when he comes? Who can stand when he appears? For he will be like a refiner's fire, like a soap maker's lye. He will sit testing and purifying the silver. He will purify the sons of Levi, refining them like gold and silver so that they can bring offerings to Adonai uprightly. That's Malachi 3:1-3. So keep in mind what you're going to notice is this fire at the end times coming from God, and it's coming out from God. So now these are the big verses. This is how we ended up. 2 Peter 3:7-10-13. It is by the same word that the present heavens and earth, having been preserved, are being kept for fire until the day of judgment, when ungodly people will be destroyed. However, the day of the Lord will come like a thief. On that day, the heavens will disappear like a roar, the elements will melt and disintegrate, and the earth and everything in it will be burned up. Since everything is going to be destroyed like this, what kind of people should you be? You should lead holy and godly lives. As you wait for the day of God and to work and hasten its coming, the day will bring the destruction of the heavens by fire. The elements will melt from the heat, but we, following along with this promise, wait for new heavens and the new earth in which righteousness will be at home. There you go. So that's what's occurring right now. So we are in the birth pangs, the fiery birth pangs. And they could go on for years, people. I mean, minimum 2 years based on my viewing of we need a lunar eclipse matching up with a solar micronova. At least 2 years, 3 years, 10 years, whatever from now, okay? Tribulation is after that. Then the Great Tribulation after that. We are years away from it. So get your life in order. Last week's get-together was about the fall festivals and how you need clean garments. And I tried to explain what garments meant or nakedness meant in the Bible. So if you want to refer to that, nobody else watched it. Anyway, be blessed. Thank you very much for your time. Be blessed. Bye-bye.